Chapter 23, Long Lost Sister, on page 200. I half wake up, wrestling with a dream. This guy named Hoffman has kidnapped Alicia and locked her away in a tower, and I'm going nuts looking for a way inside. Then I discover a secret panel that looks like thick pink glass, but it's just a hologram, and I walk right through it. Inside, Alicia is chained to a table, and these electrodes are hooked to her temples, and she's straining at her chains, and beams of sharp green light are shooting out of her eyes and burning holes in the ceiling. Hoffman is wearing a caveman suit made out of old brown pants tied on with neckties, and he's got his hands on the power dials. And behind him there are two jail cells, with Mom in one and Dad in the other. I sit up in bed and force myself to wake up. The clock on my dresser says 9:20, and I know it's Wednesday, and I'm in my house in Hyde Park. And I'm glad all that was a dream. Not that reality is a whole lot better, or less random. And I don't like that image of Mom and Dad behind bars. I have to shake off a feeling of dread. Because if you let it, the fear just keeps coming. I do my best thinking in the shower. It's so odd to see the tiny streams of water bounce around, see the shapes of my hands and arms and legs. Warm water runs down my back, and I plan out my talk with Sheila Borden. Because that's the big event for today. Maybe the biggest event of my life, and maybe hers too. I turn off the water and drip dry a little, slide back the curtain, and step out of the tub. And there's no towel. I open the door, and I'm about to yell and see if Mom is still home. Then I hold the yell just in time. Because I hear Mom talking down in the entry hall, and I know that voice, the voice that answers her. It's Miss Paget. I creep to the banister at the top of the stairwell. I can't see either of them, but the acoustics are great. The problem? The problem is that I've now heard from the Florida authorities, Mrs. Phillips. They have called and visited the home of Mrs. Ethel Layton, and I have gotten no response, day or night. Seems your Aunt Ethel has vanished. So we'd like you to tell us where she and your son might be. Mom laughs light-heartedly and says, "Well, that's Aunt Ethel for ya. She's a little flighty sometimes. When I talked with her Monday afternoon, she said Bobby was feeling so much better. She said they might do some day trips, maybe even go up to Orlando." "But surely, Mrs. Phillips, you must know where your own son is. You don't seem worried at all." "Why should I be worried? Aunt Ethel is my father's sister, and I've known her all my life. And I've known Bobby all his life. They are two very stable people, and I'm sure they're just fine, and when they get a chance, they'll check in, and I'm so sorry that this is proving difficult for you and your friends in Florida." Miss Paget takes her time answering. "Mrs. Phillips, this isn't difficult. Difficult is when a child is declared to be formally missing under suspicious circumstances, because at that point the full resources of the state of Illinois jump into action, and possibly the FBI as well. When that happens, these things often get into the newspapers. It can affect lives and careers. It can get quite messy and difficult." "That sounds a lot like a threat, Miss Badger." "My name is Miss Paget, and it's not a threat. It's a promise." Mom pauses. "Do they teach the people in your agency anything about the United States Constitution? One of the best ideas in the Constitution is this little part about how a citizen shall be presumed innocent until proven guilty." "Proven. Tell me, did you happen to bring along another search warrant this morning?" "No." "Fine. Then you have a nice day, Miss Paget." And the front door slams shut. It can't be a good idea, treating the woman like that. I'm not sure I like having Mom act like some tough guy from a Clint Eastwood movie. But as with almost everything else these days, it's out of my hands. So I get on with the business of finding a towel. As I grab a quick breakfast, Mom is cleaning up in the kitchen. She doesn't say anything about Miss Paget, and I don't ask. But I can tell she's on edge. I'm glad she has a 10 o'clock class. It'll get her mind off the long arm of the law, and it'll also get her out of my way. 10 minutes later, Mom's gone, and I'm at the desk in my room. I have some notes on a pad of paper. I know what I'll say if I get an answering machine, what I'll say if Sheila picks up herself, what I'll say if it's a kid or a boyfriend or someone, and I think I know how I can get her to tell me if she knows anything useful. And as I punch in her phone number, I'm being careful. For myself, I mean. I'm being careful not to get my hopes up. I'm just going to ask this lady a few questions. If her answers help, fine. If they don't, then I go back to the big list and call another 100, another 200 people, whatever it takes to see whatever there is to see. Which might just be nothing. Or everything. "Yes?" And then a throaty cough. A woman's voice, sleepy. The voice of someone who smokes cigarettes. "Sheila Borden?" "Yes, that's right." Awake now, on guard. "I'm calling because I think you might be able to Are you one of those kids from Students Against Drunk Driving? Because I already said no to you people 2 days ago." No, it's nothing like that. I'm calling because of something else. I'm calling because I talked with your father last night, and you talked with my father? About me? Now there's an edge to her voice. Fear, maybe a little anger. No, not really about you, not specifically. And this is the scary part of my plan. Because I've decided to just tell the truth. Because it takes truth to find truth, right? That's what my dad says. And what's the risk? She has no idea who I am. I'm just this voice on the phone. So I say, I called your dad because I woke up one morning about 3.5 weeks ago and I was gone. Just like you. Tick, tick, tick. Then she says, what are you talking about? You got up one morning and you ran away from home? And I notice she's not hanging up on me. She's talking, thinking. I say, I didn't run away from home. From school, yes, but only kind of. I pause, because I want her to have time to think. I was just gone. She's angry now. Is this some kind of a prank? I don't believe you talked to my father. Anybody could call anybody and say that. What's his address and phone number? I'm ready for that one. I read off the information. Okay, so you talked to my dad. So what? What's this got to do with me? How come you're calling? So I use my big question. When I say that I woke up one morning and I was gone, what do you think I mean by that? Just the slightest hesitation. Then she says, how should I know what you mean? Just take a guess. That's all I'm asking. First guess? Like I said, that you ran away from home. Nope. Guess again. You didn't know who you were? Amnesia or something? That's closer. Guess again. Hey, you know what? Goodbye. That's what. And she slams her phone down so hard that I hear it bounce off onto the floor. Hear her swearing and grabbing for it, and then a second slam, and the line goes dead. And I'm afraid I've lost her. Really afraid. I punch redial. 2, 3, 5 rings, and the answering machine picks up. It's her voice on the message, all bright and cheery and efficient. This is Sheila at Eyelash Technical. Leave a message or send an email from our website, eyelash.com. That's EILASH.com. Bye. Then there's the beep, and I'm rushing. I'm rushing to say everything, and I'm talking way too fast, and I'm probably saying too much, but I don't care. Sheila, I didn't mean to get you mad or anything. I'm just trying to find something out, because I really did wake up that morning. I really was gone. Like, I couldn't see myself. That's what I mean. And I'm trying to figure out, I have to figure it out. I have to. And I just thought that if she picks up the phone and I hear her answering machine click off, there's a deep tiredness in her voice, a weariness. You can't just call someone up and say I turned invisible one day, can you? And I know. I don't believe it yet, but I know. I gulp, and I feel tears at the corner of my eyes, because it's like I'm finding a lost sister or something, like a reunion with an army buddy, an old Greek warrior. So it really did happen to you too? Almost a whisper. Really? Then, how did you find me? So I tell her, and she's blown away. A blanket? That's so wild. A blanket? From Sears. She pauses, then, oh man, we could be talking about a big lawsuit here. Sears, for God's sake. Big money. Do you realize that? Millions. She wants to talk. I can tell that. But I look at my notes, and I have to keep to my own program. So can you remember the date that it happened to you? She laughs, and there's a bitterness in it. What do you think? Of course I can. January 12th, 3 years ago. Hard to forget a day that totally scrambles your life, don't you think? And then she needs to talk, and I listen to her whole story. How she panicked that morning, how she started to tell her parents but then stopped. She actually lived at home 3 days after it happened. She saw her parents crying about her. She lived in her own room, learned to sneak around, learned how to carry small stuff between her arms and her rib cage. She stole her dad's savings account information, went to the public library, used the internet, and transferred $4,000 into the account she had used at college. And then she set up an account for herself at a bank in Miami, and transferred the money there. She stole it because she didn't know what else to do, which tells me a lot about her and me. Because the first thing I did when it happened was tell my parents. She didn't feel like she could do that. I ask, why Florida? Why do you think? Ever try walking around naked in Denver in the wintertime? And I could see why she went south. She took a plane, just rode the bus to Denver International, found a flight that wasn't too full, and walked on. Sat up in first class and stole food from people who were sleeping. At a public access terminal in a Miami library, she found a cheap apartment and paid the deposit electronically. Didn't you have to sign papers or something, like in person? Ever see a Muslim woman completely covered in a black veil? That's what I did. No one even blinked. I wear it when I go grocery shopping, too. There's a pretty good-sized Islamic community around here. The only bad part is when I'm at the supermarket and another veiled woman comes over and starts yakking at me in Farsi or Urdu or something, and all I can do is nod and say salam. But other than that, it works great. For the past 3 years, she's been earning good money designing websites. She bought a fast computer that was delivered to her door, bought some good software, and learned how to use it. I had plenty of time, know what I mean? And the internet? It's made for people like me, like us. You don't ever have to go outside if you don't want to. I find design jobs on the net, I work at home, I upload my projects over the net, and I get paid by direct money transfer into my accounts. Works great. What about, like, friends? She laughs, but there's a hollow sound to it. You mean, like, a boyfriend? Not a chance. I didn't like men that much back when they could see me, and they didn't like me so much either. I used to miss hanging out with my girlfriends from back home, but I'm over it. I had a parrot for a while, but it died, so this is simpler. I do my own thing, and that's all there is to it. What about doctors and dentists, stuff like that? The only thing I worry about is if I get really sick. I had the flu last winter for about 2 weeks, and I almost thought I'd have to go to the hospital, but I just took a bunch of aspirin and toughed it out. How about if things got serious? I've thought about that. First, I'd find a very rich woman doctor, the richer the better, and I'd walk into her offices wearing my black outfit. When we're alone, I'd remind her that she's required to keep my condition a secret, and I'd make her sign a promise of complete medical confidentiality. Then I'd take off my veils. And if she ever broke her promise, I'd sue her right down to her pantyhose. This lady's definitely a Greek warrior, only she's probably tougher than the guys were. So, no other friends? 2, both women, people I can trust, but that's enough. Never had all that many friends anyhow. Anyway, how about you? Kinda the same. At first it was just my parents. Then I started talking to this blind girl. Interesting. I thought about that too. So, does she know? Yeah, but she's been great about everything, and her parents too. So how long has it been for you? Less than a month? Uh-huh. But I think there might be a way to reverse it. At least that's what I'm working on. And now I found you. If we figure it out, you'll be the first to know. So you really think there's a way back? I hope so. Well, let me know, okay? Absolutely, I will. What's your name? Bobby. Bobby Phillips. It's nice to talk to you, Bobby. Yeah, it's good to talk to you too. I don't know what else to say, and I'm about to sign off. Then she says, Bobby, you have to promise me something, okay? Sure, I guess so. What? I don't want you to tell anybody about me. Nobody. It's kinda too late. I already told Alicia I was going to call you. She's the blind girl. But she doesn't know anything else about me, right? Yeah? So keep it that way. Don't tell her. Tell her you couldn't reach me or something. Tell her I'm dead. Tell her whatever you want to. I don't want to lie to her. She'll keep everything a secret if I ask her to. Easy for you to say. What if she decides she needs money 2 years from now and she rats me out to some sleazy supermarket tabloid? Then what? Then I'm screwed. That's what. Alicia's not like that. Remember, she knows about me too. I trust her. But maybe that's because you're young and don't know any better. Or maybe you're stupid or something. I'm about to start shouting when she says, Sorry, I don't mean to sound nasty about this, but I've had to move twice in the last 3 years because I thought I could trust some people. Things like that happen, and it makes you pretty paranoid. Well, look, if you gotta tell this girl, then I can't stop you, but don't tell anybody else, and make her promise to keep it a secret, okay? It's important. Do you understand? Yes. And you promise? I promise, and I know Alicia will too. Good. So, good luck. I hope everything works out the way you want it to. Thanks. Me too. And I'll get back in touch if there's any news. After we say goodbye, I flop onto my bed and look at the ceiling. I need to take stock of what I know. 3 years. She's been gone for 3 years, so this is not a temporary condition. That's one thing I know. This condition did have a specific cause, and the blanket is part of it. I'm sure of that now. But the blanket's not all of it. If it was just a blanket causing this, then more people would be affected. Then again, maybe more were, and I just haven't called them yet. And I know that it happened to Sheila on January 12th, 3 years ago in Denver, Colorado, and it happened to me February 23rd, both in the winter. Duh. Big coincidence. Winter is when you use an electric blanket. But still, I've got 2 locations, 2 blankets, and 2 dates, plus 2 invisible people. And lying there on my bed, tracing the maze of cracks in the plaster on my ceiling, I face a fact. What I've actually got is only slightly more than nothing.